up, internet?
Hello.
It's Dave, it's Duncan, back from Metal Epidemic for another album review. For this review, Duncan and I have been checking out the new release from Kentucky rock trio White Reaper. The band's new album, Only Slightly Empty, will be released on September 26th via Blue Grape Records. For over a decade, White Reaper have been one of modern music's most satisfying rock bands, reliably reminding listeners how truly rewarding cranked-up amps and a good chorus can be. But achieving that kind of longevity is no small feat. It's a path that's often full of pitfalls and frustrations, no matter how carefree the actual songs might sound. White Reaper have had more than their fair share of ups and downs in recent years, and the Louisville, Kentucky-based group new album Only Slightly Empty finds them overcoming creative blocks, lineup changes, label upheaval, burnout and more to push their sound and create the most infectiously entertaining record of their career. I think we are on this kind of rocket trajectory for a while, but we were also really burning out, says keyboardist Ryan Hayter. With You Deserve Love from 2019, we were riding this roller coaster of what a major label wanted us to do, and they were finding success with it. Then the pandemic hit, and we were partially like, thank God we can finally have some time off, but we had a hard time getting back in the swing of it. With the turmoil of lineup changes and a switch of label in the rear view, the core group of Esposito, Hayter, guitarist Hunter Thompson, and engineer Joey Oaxaca, I'm not sure how I pronounce that, got back to work with a renewed creative energy. The result finds White Reaper at the top of their game and exploring new musical territory. Only Slightly Empty is packed with the crunchy power pop spirit of the band's earlier work, but is augmented with a grungier wall of sound that's at times the heaviest and darkest White Reaper have ever sounded, all without ever sacrificing the instant earworm melodies that have always made this group tick. We did revisit our older stuff to kind of see what made it go. Esposito explains, it's really just melody over chords, that's the core of it. I think that with the last record being written during lockdown, I was trying to outdo myself writing the craziest possible riffs, versus this time it was more about the songs. There's a palpable energy coursing through Only Slightly Empty's airtight half-hour runtime. This is a rejuvenated White Reaper, and it shows in the songs. So, White Reaper, Duncan. I had never heard of White Reaper before.
No, absolutely not. Not even, it wasn't even a blip on the outskirts of a radar for me.
No. But the press release did catch my attention. I mentioned a few bands that we have been.
Is that how it made on the list?
Yeah, there was a few keyword bands in the press release. Pup, Dirty Nell was mentioned, Weezer was mentioned, and I was like, okay, we'd just come off reviewing The Lash by the Dirty Nell, so I was like, right, okay.
You're like, you've caught me in the right time, press statement.
Yeah, you did. And I think I jumped onto Spotify and I listened to Honestly, I think was the track.
Which is such a fucking vibe, man.
Yeah, which I think might have been their first single. And when I hit play, I was like, oh, right, okay.
I was loving that song, and then out of nowhere, like just a wee synth arpeggiated thing came in, and my dick got hard. Because that's literally all it takes these days, Dave. That's my Viagra.
Wow.
A little synth. Shove that in your music. Watch me fuck. What's in this drink tonight? Honestly,
what is going on tonight?
Jesus.
What I was going to say was, it reminded me of a band from years ago that I used to love called Hostage Cam. Why is that funny?
One, because I've never heard of it.
All right.
Two, this music is really happy, and you're liking it to a band called Hostage Cam.
Yes, Hostage Cam.
Camera on them. Like that. If you want to see your friend alive again. Dave's like that. You know what? This is such a vibe.
It did remind me of that band. They're no longer on the go, unfortunately. But,
I wonder why.
Great band. But I think White Reaper are a little bit more, a little bit sweeter. But there were similarities in some of the melodies on that track, so I was kind of intrigued. I was like, all right, okay, yeah, this could be something we could check out. I was kind of surprised when I saw the back catalogue of 4 albums. I was like,
hello.
what's going on here?
We know nothing, David. I've realised the longer we do this, the more music we just don't know exists. Or even have it's different having heard the band but heard the name. Like so you're like, oh, I've heard that name, I've just never got around to listening to it. The amount of times this year particularly you're like that album 2 or album 3 and I'm like, how? Like that doesn't make sense.
No.
Yeah.
Doesn't it? Yeah, I had a kind of quick blast of their previous albums, and they all kind of range from like garage punk to like power pop, punk rock. The last album actually had quite a few like interesting moments where they veered into like more like synth pop territory, which was pretty cool as well. That's the COVID
album that they were on.
Yeah. But like also like the first track on that album comes running out the gate of that kind of punk kind of heavy metal kind of attitude as well. So I think for that reason that last album probably grabbed my attention more out of the kind of back catalogue, just because it was so like varied in kind of style. This album is much more stylistically even, is what I would say, compared to the last one. There's no like jumps from like punk to like synth pop on this one.
Curveballs.
Yes. So I think it maybe took 2 or 3 listens for this one to kind of like kind of permeate like a little bit deeper. And I'd say probably about listen 3, I think, was probably where I started to find more of a kind of groove with this album. And the kind of framework of it became a bit more kind of evident. It's 10 tracks, under 30 minutes, which if you're quick with the math, not so much here in Scotland, but you get the idea, you get the blueprint. Mainly about like 3-minute tracks is what we're trying to say here.
Single length.
Yes, single length, Duncan. Single length. They get in, they get out, and with the hope of leaving you with some sort of melody or hook rattling about in your head. Musically, fairly straightforward. This album. It is all within that kind of like alternative, grungy, garage pop, kind of pop punk almost vibe. The tempos don't wildly change on each track. They ever so slightly, vary just depending on the style. But I think they're mainly relying on the vocal to deliver something memorable most of the time anyway. My only issue with that,
we have come with baggage tonight. What's happened to you this week?
A little bit older, Duncan. A little bit more crabbit. Coming off my birthday week, maybe I'm just on like a downer or something. I don't know.
Like you cut the sugar out or something.
No, the opposite actually.
You've had too much sugar. You need to calm down.
Yeah, if it's not like musically, if it's not like overly daring, then I feel like okay, so the hooks need to be absolutely fire, and like it need to be tattooed on my brain by the end of this album. And to be fair, like there are a handful of really good hooks on this album. Blink, great example of that. Like great track, had a little bit of like a Alkaline trio.
Oh, you're reading my mind, Dave. Oh, you're pulling the bands from my mind because that was not mentioned in your list of bands there.
No, it wasn't actually mentioned in the press release, which was quite strange.
Fucking all over this, man. Absolutely all over this.
Absolutely. And there is a little bit of that kind of Californian Weezer kind of sunshine about it as well. Honestly, the track that I mentioned earlier, also a really good standout. A little more kind of punky, kind of alternative, but as you said, it's got the kind of cool kind of synth elements kind of sprinkled in there as well, which I liked. You've got the kind of grunginess of like Freak Show coming in. Blue 42 also kind of stood out as a little bit, a little touch slower, but it's got a little bit more kind of atmosphere and melody, almost like kind of verging on the indie shoegaze kind of territory. Pocket was also a little cool. It's got like a kind of Cure type feel and the kind of main guitar parts or the kind of verses, which I quite liked as well. So there are like moments on the album where I was like, oh, that's cool, there's a nice hook on that, there's a nice vocal melody there or a little catchy hook there. As the album gets to the last third, I felt like it did start to kind of run out of steam a little bit.
Enemy John.
I just didn't think they were quite as like kind of memorable. maybe just didn't kind of reach the heights to keep it consistent, like all the way through. I also think the last album, although it wasn't like as stylistically kind of gelled or connected to this as this album, it is a little bit more. It was more daring in the switch ups, which I felt did make it kind of stand out a little more. There's some tracks here kind of fly under the radar a little bit for me, you know. So like the hooks were stronger, like overall, compared to the last album. But I did also feel like I wanted them to take a little bit more risk musically on this release. On the plus side, production value is really good. The guitar tones are nice and crunchy. Bass has a great presence. Drum tones are punchy, well balanced, and as are the vocals. There's a nice kind of roundness to the vocal recording that makes it, you know, warm and full sounding. And the melodies are good. He's got a really good voice. When they get you a really good melody, it does stick in your head. But I did feel like overall it was a little bit of a mix for me. I think it had some good moments, but then like talking about the Dirty Nil, when you stack it up against like other bands they are like being compared to or have comparisons to, I'm not sure it's quite on the same level for me. So yeah, I'm kind of in the middle with this album. How about yourself? What did you think?
So Davies, Jim Eats World in the middle. I get you now.
yeah.
I like what's happening here. Yeah. So like yourself, I had never heard White Reaper before. I don't think our scores are going to be too different, but okay. I feel that our reviews are very much glass half empty. That's you.
Right.
Me, glass half full.
Okay. Okay.
I think there's like so much on this that I disagree with the comment that you feel that not every single song has like a fucking big old hook. I actually think they're in here. I just don't always think they're on the chorus. I think some songs are very much choral driven, so when you listen to them, the chorus is in there and it might as well just like fucking like bring out a hammock and just swing for a couple of days, get a wee ukulele out and play some songs. I think other songs is actually either a verse or an interlude where the hook comes in, you're like, oh, that's memorable as fuck, I'm going to be humming that for weeks. And that is interesting because a band like this in the genre they are is generally the chorus that, let's put it this way, if I was to I could probably name 10 Blink-182 songs, and if I was to say to you, hum the chorus, you could probably do it. But if I was to say hum the verse, you might struggle, right? Yeah. Because that's a band that's designed to give you choruses that everyone can sing to, maybe not so much the verse to get to the chorus. White Reaper really are quite clever at switching that up. So I loved his vocal tone. It's 2 shades away in aggression. So it's like down 2 shades away from our buddy in Dinosaur Pile-Up.
Oh yeah.
Not a kicking the arse off it. And music, actually, this has the same kind of sunshine vibe, and you mentioned kind of California and whatnot, of that 100th album that we both really liked. I mean, this would pair really well with that.
Yeah.
Just in that, every song just radiates kind of positivity and sunshine. I know they're saying that there's challenging moments behind some of the songs. You wouldn't fucking know listening to this. Like, there's just a whole lot of backslapping, ass papping, you know, pass me the beer, let's go to a barbecue, everything's great, cheers. Like, that's the vibe I got from it, and it made me so happy. Like, I've listened to this a lot, and every spin just makes me happy. And it's not a long album, doesn't need to be a long album. It doesn't necessarily, see, I've not listened to the previous one, so I don't know the experimental side, so I can't compare that here. But as a first listen to a kind of first introduction to a band, I think their song is uniform, well, their sound is uniform throughout their songs. Yeah. And that kind of, I would have guessed they'd had probably a couple in the tank, because it just sounds like confidently this is our sound. Also kind of sounds like they might not have had the best experience from the public going that experimental. So while you might crave that, Dave, they're maybe giving one back to the fans, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Some bands will do that. They'll release an album where like it has crossover appeal, but neither side is necessarily overly happy with the overall product. And when you get into that one, you're like, I have to pick a lane here. I have to pick a side. or your System of a Down, who never did that and got progressively worse on every single album, where they're like, oh, the fans like it when we go quirky. No, we don't. We like it when you write good songs, and will someone please stop the guitarist for singing so much? Like, please. On this one, I like the production. You mentioned The Cure. I think there's a bit of The Cure in there, especially in tracks like Pocket, which have that kind of vibe kicking through it. Huge swaths of the Alkaline Trio through this. I love the Alkaline Trio. I think they're like still one of those bands that I think eventually when they do hang things up, I think they'll finally get their dues. I think they're one of those bands where their influence extends a lot further than you think, because they're just surrounded by bands that maybe get too much oxygen when it talks about impact and that kind of pop punky realm. They're bigger bands. Doesn't necessarily mean they're as consistent as Alkaline Trio. And that definitely washed through. I think the switch ups between the kind of pop punk, the kind of grungier and alt elements really, really worked here. And I liked the flow. I liked the back half of this album, and I specifically didn't mind. Like, Enemy John is a tone. It's like built around a theme. Rubber Cement necessarily isn't the greatest penultimate track, but Touch is a great closing song. So to me, it's maybe not as inconsistent as in the back half. I do think, and you're right in saying this, the front 5 songs here are fucking great. Like, from Coma to Eraser, I think that's like all the way right through, they're just firing on all cylinders. And then they don't necessarily get experimental, but they just change a bit of the tone around. And that comes with further listens. I was more obvious of it. The first listen, not necessarily as much. Production's great. They focus on that PR statement by saying the focus is on melody, not on riffs. And one of my kind of mental notes to bring here is that at times I felt the voice was the driving force, and it almost felt like I could imagine a vocalist sitting with a guitar, humming a tune and then going, right, guitar riff to match that, or it almost felt like the melody was written before anything else. And then you hear what they're saying and that kind of makes sense. Synth use in here is great, because it's not just, we mentioned Honestly, which is fucking great, Mahogany, but as you're working through it, Pockets we mentioned earlier as being Cure-esque, it's in the background. It's actually super suppressed in the mix, but it's kind of perfect. Also the kind of the harmonies in this, lower in the mix, but really, really, really cool. So for me, I'd be surprised if we differ too far on the scoring here, but I really liked my listen to this. I think they're a really cool band. I kind of love this, if I'm honest. Like, I just had a lot of fun with it. Is it remarkable? Absolutely not. Is it pushing anything? No. But did it deliver tracks that made me smile, tracks that made me happy, tracks that made me want to listen to it again? Yes, it did. So, and I imagine if you're in the genre that this band is in, that's what you're achieving. You're not looking for people to go that they've revolutionized the genre. What you're looking for is people to say they had a good time listening to it, and with that, mission accomplished, guys.
Okay, scores then for this new album. Yeah, I mean, it's enjoyable. I think that there is some highlights on it that do get caught in your head. Good melodies, strong melodies, and then there's other tracks I feel will just kind of fade into the background and are not overly memorable for me. It just felt a little bit safe, and I feel like if I'm going to listen to an album like this, I feel there are other albums that are much stronger and more consistent all the way through. They have some good ideas. I just kind of wanted them to do a bit more, take a bit more risk in places. And I know they did some of that in the last album. I kind of liked that. So maybe they were trying to kind of hone it in and just, give the fans a sound, which is fair enough. But for me, it was just it was okay. It was good. Nice production. And as I say, the guy's got a really good voice, but it's somewhere in the middle for me. So I'm going to go 3 out of 5 on this one. What say you, Duncan?
We might be doomed to 0.5 differences this whole recording. 3.5.
Right, okay.
I thought this was a lot of fun. I don't think it's reinventing the wheel by any stretch of the imagination, but I think there's a time and a place for albums that sound like this, and it hit me just right. So 3.5 out of 5.
Only Slightly Empty, out on September 26th. Check out the links to the band, the pre-order. I'll stick one of the singles in there as well, so have a listen. See what you think. Have a listen. Happy to hear your thoughts and opinions on it. That is our review of the album. Thank you for checking it out. We'll be back with another review very soon, but until then, take care. Speak to you soon. Stop.